Donald Trump no longer leads the nation, but the former president wants to continue leading the Republican Party from his Mar-a-Lago resort. His top priority is retaliating against members of Congress who voted to impeach him. Bloomberg News' national political reporter Mark Niquette has been writing about Trump's political operation in the Sunshine State, and he joins us now by phone. Mark, Republicans who are currently in office want to retake the House and the Senate in upcoming elections. How aligned would you say Donald Trump and Republicans' interests are overall? What do they see eye and eye on, and what do they disagree on?
Well, they're aligned to the point it supports what Trump's priorities are. Clearly, President Trump says he wants to help Republicans take control of the House and Senate in 2022, for example. But he's also very engaged on, as you've mentioned, challenging these 10 House Republicans who voted to impeach him, as well as Senator Lisa Murkowski in Alaska, who voted to convict him in the impeachment proceedings. And there's some concern within the Republican Party that that effort could complicate efforts to take control of the House and Senate if too much money and attention is diverted to these races against incumbent Republicans, as opposed to focusing on competitive races or races that would help the Republicans build a majority in 2022.
Right, and Trump rants against Murkowski and others as Rhinos, Republicans in name only. He wants candidates to run against anyone who betrayed him in primaries. How does he vet these candidates, or is he vetting them?
Yeah, that's a sort of a question that's still to be answered. Is what does Donald Trump consider to be a rhino? Because he is clearly making that distinction, as you said. What we've been told is he sort of set up a process for recruiting and vetting candidates that his oldest son, Donald Trump Jr., is more or less taking charge of. And this involves, talking to these candidates, seeing what kind of campaign they're putting together. And in some cases, we're hearing that these candidates are going to Mar-a-Lago with hopes of trying to meet with Trump and, ask for his endorsement directly. And one of the things that we're going to be watching to see is whether there is a formal process that leads to candidates getting endorsed. One of the concerns that some Trump advisors have told us is that they just don't want the endorsement to go to a candidate who has President Trump's cell phone number or books a fundraiser at Mar-a-Lago.
I kind of had this image of someone going over to kiss the ring of a king when you mentioned that. The Republicans obviously love President Trump's ability to fundraise, especially from small donors, which he's done so well. But he wants to direct the money that's raised to his own political action committee, his own PAC, rather than the Republican Party PAC. How is the Republican Party responding to this?
Well, it's been kind of a delicate dance where, as you say, Trump put out sent cease and desist letters to the Republican National Committee and the other Republican fundraising committees, telling them they can't use his name and likeness without his explicit permission. And after some back and forth, they sort of landed on where Trump is okay with the committees doing their work as long as the money that's donated to them is not used to help any of the candidates, House members who impeached him, or goes against candidates he otherwise doesn't support. So the question is going to be: is there sort of enough donations to go around to support both a Trump operation where he's clearly pursuing his agenda, and what the Republicans might do that's not directly aligned with what the Trump operation is pursuing.
Okay, so there are conditions attached, as there usually are. I mentioned that President Trump's donors are pretty loyal. They're usually small donors, but I don't totally understand why they're giving him money. He has not announced that he's running in 2024, although there's a lot of speculation that he would. So what exactly is he asking people to give him money for?
Well, he's really positioning it as you're supporting candidates who back the Trump agenda, the America First agenda. And if you liked President Trump's policies when he was in office, you can give him money, and he'll ensure that it goes to support candidates who share that vision and will support that in office, whether in Congress or the Senate. So that's sort of the pitch that he's been making to donors, and sort of at the core of this fight with the RNC and the other committees, it's sort of defining, okay, how are we going to decide that this this candidate that is being supported with these donations is acceptable both to President Trump and to the party, particularly in its goals to try and take over the House in 2022. And to do that, you obviously need strong candidates in key districts to do it.
Gotcha. We were looking at video of Mitch McConnell earlier, and obviously he and President Trump have really broken. They have not talked. But Kevin McCarthy, who is in the House leadership, he's been visiting Donald Trump at Mar-a-Lago and trying to make good with him. Is McCarthy's approach working here? I mean, is he getting anywhere with President Trump?
So far, we're told no. I mean, he made a very public visit to Mar-a-Lago in January after he initially blamed Trump for the January 6th insurrection at the U.S. Capitol. I think there was a need to sort of mend fences there. And it came out of that meeting with sort of a public agreement that, they would work together to retake the House in 2022, which would make Kevin McCarthy Speaker if that happens. But, we haven't seen any evidence that, Trump is going to back off his attempt to primary these House Republicans who voted to impeach him. And McCarthy's even said, he has no commitment from Trump that he will avoid playing in the primaries.
Mark Niquette, really appreciate your joining us, national political correspondent for Bloomberg News.
The biggest stories the moment they happen from around the globe. Subscribe to Bloomberg Quick Take now for insight in an instant.